welcome back to week 2. We have started on week 2. My goodness. Giving up is not an option. That is the title of week 2. We left off at the beginning of Genesis 29, and I did want to get up to 33, but now I'm thinking about getting up to 36, chapter 36 of Genesis, and then we'll go ahead and read what's in the Bible study. Um, Normally I would want to just finish all the readings and then we'll do the Bible study, but it's okay. We'll get up to 36 since that's where it kind of starts at or ends at for the Bible study. All right, Genesis 29. Jacob arrives in Padan Aram. Then Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. There he saw a well in the open country, with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it, because the flocks were watered from that well. The stone over the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth, and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob asked the shepherds, "My brothers, where are you from?" "We're from Haran," they replied. He said to them, "Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson?" "Yes, we know him," they answered. Then Jacob asked them, "Is he well?" "Yes, he is," they said. "And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." "Look," he said, "the sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture." "We can't," they replied, "until all the flocks were gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep." While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherd. Then Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of his uncle Laban, and Laban's sheep. He went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. He had told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebekah. So she ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home, and there Jacob told him all these things. Then Laban said to him, "You are my own flesh and blood." Jacob marries Leah, Leah and Rachel. After Jacob had stayed with him for a whole month, Laban said to him, "Just because you are a relative of mine, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, or delicate eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, "I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel." Laban said, "It's better that I give her to you than some other man. Stay here with me." So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to make love to her." So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and Jacob made love to her. And Laban gave his servant Zilpah to his daughter as her attendant. When morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, "What is this that you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" I just have to pause there for a second because Jacob, of all people, had the audacity to ask someone else why they have deceived him when he was the original deceiver, deceiving his father, Isaac, into giving him his brother's uh, blessing. So I just thought that was funny how, yes, eventually we will reap what we sow. He has finally reaped what he sowed. When you sow deception, you will reap deception. Laban replied, I'm on Genesis 29:26. Laban replied, "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Finish this daughter's bridal week, then we will give you the younger one also, in return for another 7 years of work." And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah, and then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his servant Bilhah, his daughter Rachel as her to his daughter Rachel as her attendant. Jacob made love to Rachel also, and his love for Rachel was greater than his love for Leah. And he worked for Laban another 7 years. Jacob's children. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive, but Rachel remained childless. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, "It is because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now." She conceived again when she gave birth to a son. She said, "Because the Lord had heard that I am not loved, he gave me this one too." So she named him Simeon. Again she conceived, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "Now at last my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons." So she named him so he was named Levi. She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "This time I will praise the Lord." So she named him Judah, and she stopped having children. And I like to make a point here as well where Leah was also seen, like Hagar was also seen. Hagar was not necessarily loved by Abraham, especially not loved by Sarah, her mistress. She was hated, she was ostracized, she was treated differently because she was not the original wife. And Leah was not the original intended wife, and she was not loved. And the thing about us women is that we want acceptance so much because we are, again, emotional beings. And because we rely on our emotions, we think that the one that we are with is the one that we need to seek the most. And that is not true. We have to remember God has order. You love God above everyone and everything, first and foremost, especially over your husband and over your children, because we tend to think, due to our nurturing nature, that we want to nurture everybody to receive the nurture back from them, and that is not the order that God has given us. The order is that we love God first and foremost. So when she had a child the first time, she should have praised the Lord, because praising the Lord is giving him the glory. It's telling him that I see that you see me, and I appreciate you, and I love you with all my heart. So when God gave me Naomi, gave me my daughter, I was ecstatic. I felt blessed. I felt seen. I felt comforted, because he was with me in that delivery room, even though it was COVID, and it was very scary to have a child during that time. And I felt alone. I only had her father with me, and we were going through a rough time at that time. And it's like God has still been so faithful. He has still been there for us, and he is helping me raise my daughter, essentially, because I can't do it by myself. I don't want to do it by myself. So knowing that God was with me in the very beginning, especially knowing that I was disobedient. I was supposed to be in college, focusing on getting my degree, but I went the other way, thinking that this is how I'm going to fill up the void in my heart, um, fill up the sadness, with a replacement of romance, and that was not the way. That was not in God's will. So he definitely had a lot of mercy on me, and he had a lot of mercy on Leah, and he knew that Leah was going to praise him and give him the glory. So it worked out for the better at the end of the day, and she felt the blessings with her children, as you always should feel blessings from children. Children are not burdens, but they are the arrows to a warrior. And we are going through a spiritual battle right now. So if you're going through a rough time and you have children, thank and praise God that you have children, because they're going to be the ones to essentially go out and make a difference in this world. But you have to change you as well. You have to be willing to allow God to mold you, to take those broken pieces and um place the gold pieces in between the cracks, so even the cracks look beautiful. Your scars will look beautiful, and your scars are a testament that you have survived many things, many trials, many tribulations, and it's a testament to show that you see this scar right here, you see this scar right here. God was with me. God is still with me. Amen. All right, picking back up, Genesis 30. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Jacob became angry with her and said, "Am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children?" Hmm. Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant." So she's doing the same mistake that Sarah made. And notice how the striking difference between how Rachel is reacting and how Leah reacted. Leah didn't do anything. She didn't feel like she needed to deceive or make silly suggestions like go outside of our marriage and do something, to make my sister jealous. She wasn't really trying to make her sister jealous. She just wanted to be loved. So it's a striking difference. And that's why we should never look on the outside of someone and think that, oh, because they're handsome or oh, because they're beautiful, that they're going to make a good partner for us. No, that's why it's important for us to ask the Lord, is this person for me? Is this person in your will? If it's not, then let me make a better decision according to your will. All right, Genesis 30, verse 3, we'll reread that. Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me, and I too can build a family through her." So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her, and she became pregnant and bore him a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son." Because of this, she named him Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "Have a great struggle. I have a great struggle with my sister, and I have won." So she named him Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "What good fortune!" So she named him Gad. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, "How happy I am! The women will call me happy." So she named him Asher. During wheat harvest, Reuben went out into the fields and found some mandrake plants, which he brought to his mother, Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too?" "Very well," she said. "He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went out to meet him. "You must sleep with me," she said. "I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband. So she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Then Leah said, God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor because I have borne him six sons. So she named him Zebulun. Some time later she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. She named him Joseph and said, May the Lord add to me another son. Jacob's flocks increased. After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, Send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you. But Laban said to him, If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned my divination. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. He added, Name your wages, and I will pay them. Jacob said to him, You know how I have worked for you, and how your livestock has fared under my care. The little you had before I ha- I came has increased greatly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. But now, when may I do something for my own household? What shall I give you? He asked. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied. But if you will do this one thing for me. I will go tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages, and my honesty will testify for me in the future whenever you check on the wages you have paid me. Any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not dark colored, will be considered stolen. Agreed, said Laban. Let it be as you have said. That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all the dark colored lambs, and he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from popular almond and plane trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in the watering troughs so they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they made it in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or spotted or speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and dark colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animals. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban, and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way, the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. All right, and Genesis 31. Jacob flees from Laban. Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything our father owned and has gained all this wealth from what belonged to our father. And Jacob noticed that Laban's attitude toward him was not what it had been. Then the Lord said to Jacob, "Go back to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you." So Jacob sent word to Rachel and Leah to come out of to the fields where his flocks were. He said to them, "I see that your father's attitude toward me is not what it was before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I've worked for your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me by changing his wages 10 times. However, God has not allowed him to harm me. If he said, 'The speckled ones will be your wages,' then all the flocks gave birth to the speckled young. And if he said, 'The streaked ones will be your wages,' then all the flocks bore streaked young. So God has taken away your father's livestock and has given them to me. In breeding season, I once had a dream in which I looked up and saw that the male goats were mating with the flock were streaked, speckled, and or spotted. The angel of God said to me in a dream, 'Jacob.' I answered, 'Here I am.' And he said, 'Look up and see that all the male goats mating with the flock are streaked, speckled, or spotted, for I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now leave this land at once and go back to your native land.' Then Rachel and Leah replied, 'Do we still have any share in the inheritance of our father's estate? Does he not regard us as foreigners? Not only has he sold us, but he has used up what was paid for us. Surely all the wealth that God took away from our father belongs to us and our children. So do whatever God has told you.' Then Jacob put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove all his livestock ahead of him, along with all the goods he had accumulated in Padan Aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Then Laban had gone to shear his sheep. Rachel stole her father's household gods. Moreover, Jacob received Laban the Aramean by not telling him he was running away. So he fled all he had, crossed the Euphrates River, and headed for the hill country of Gilead. Now let me pause here. I gotta say something, because here we go. Once again, Rachel starts something that was not in God's will. And if she truly submitted to her husband, she would know that the God of her husband is also to be her God. But she thought that it was more important for them to hold on to figurines of her father's gods, lowercase g, by the way. Laban did not believe in the same God as Jacob. And that's very important to note, because if you're looking to be married and to have a household that is to serve the Lord, you must all have the same Lord. You should not be unequally yoked. And once again, Jacob has not learned from his deception from before, because he did reap deception. He reaped another wife that he was not trying to be with. Now he did another act of deception, and we'll see that again later on being reaped, and I will point that out once we come across it. All right, we are in Genesis 31, verse 22. Laban pursues Jacob. On the third day, Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Taking his relatives with him, he pursued Jacob for 7 days and caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. Then God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream at night and said to him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country of Gilead when Laban overtook him, and Laban and his relatives camped there too. Then Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done? You have deceived me, and you've carried off my daughters like captives in war. Why did you run off secretly and deceive me? Why didn't you tell me so I could send you away with joy and singing to the music of timbrels and harps? You didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye. You have done a foolish thing. I have the power to harm you, but last night the God of your father said to me, 'Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.' Now you have gone off because you long to return to your father's household. But why did you steal my gods?" Jacob answered Laban, "I was afraid because I thought you would take your daughters away from me by force. But if you find anyone who has your gods, that person shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, see for yourself whether there is anything of yours here with me, and if so, take it." Now Jacob not did not know that Rachel had stolen the gods. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the two female servants, but he found nothing. After he came out of Leah's tent, he entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household gods and put them inside her camel saddle and was sitting on them. Laban searched through everything in the tent but found nothing. Rachel said to her father, "Don't be angry, my lord, that I cannot stand up in your presence. I have I'm having my period." So he searched but could not find the household gods. Jacob was angry and took Laban to task. "What is my crime?" he asked Laban. "How have I wronged you that you hunt me down? Now that you have searched through all my goods, what have you found that belongs to your household? Put it here in front of your relatives and mine, and let them judge between the two of us. I have been with you 20 years now. Your sheep and goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten rams from your flocks. I did not bring you animals torn by wild beasts. I bore the loss myself, and you demanded payment from me for whatever was stolen by day or night. This was my situation. The heat consumed me in the daytime, and the cold at night, and sleep fled from my eyes. It was like this for the 20 years I was in your household. I worked for you 14 years for your two daughters and the 6 years for your flocks, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, you would surely have sent me away empty handed. But God has seen my hardship and the toil of my hands, and last night he rebuked you." Laban answered Jacob, "The women are my daughters, the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks. All you see is mine. Yet what can I do today about these daughters of mine, or about the children they have borne? Come now, let's make a covenant, you and I, and let it serve as witness between us." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. He said to his relatives, "Gather some stones." So they took stones and piled them in a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jagar Sahadutha, and Jacob called it Galeed. Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today." That is why it is called Galeed. It was also called Mizpah, because he said, "May the Lord keep watch between you and me when we are away from each other. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take any wives besides my daughters, even though no one is with us, remember that God is a witness between you and me." Laban also said to Jacob, "Here is this heap, and here is this pillar I have set up between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not go past this heap to your side to harm you, and that you will not go past this heap and pillar to my side to harm me. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor and the God of their father judge between us." So Jacob took an oath in the name of the fear of his father Isaac, and he offered a sacrifice there in the hill country and invited his relatives to a meal. After they had eaten, they spent the night there. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home. All right, moving on. Genesis 32. And let me pause for just a quick second before we continue. This is some good word, good word. So, even though things may not go accordingly how we think it's gonna work out, God will always make sure he works it out in your favor. As you remain as a faithful servant, he will be faithful to you. And he continues to keep his promise by protecting Abraham's children, because Jacob does come from the line of Abraham. So even though Abraham didn't witness all of these things, God still remained faithful. All right. Jacob prepares to meet Esau. Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is the camp of God." So he named that place Mahanaim. So, Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban, and have remained there till now. I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, male and female servants. Now I am sending this message to my lord, that I may find favor in your eyes." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, and the flocks and herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, Lord, you who said to me, 'Go back to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper,' I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. I had only my staff when I crossed this Jordan, but now I have become two camps. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers of their children with their children. But you have said, I will surely make you prosper. I will make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted." He spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau: 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30, excuse me, hold on. Excuse me. 30 female camels with their 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to his servants, "Go ahead of me, and keep some space between the herds." He instructed the one in the lead, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'Who do you belong to, and where are you going, and who owns all these animals in front of you?' then you are to say, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau.'" and he is coming behind us. He also instructed the second, the third, and all the others who followed the herds. You are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. And be sure to say, your servant Jacob is coming behind us. For he thought, I will pacify him with these gifts I am sending on ahead. Later, when I see him, perhaps he will receive me. So Jacob's gifts went on ahead of him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. Jacob wrestles with God. That night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, Let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. The man asked him, What is your name? Jacob, he answered. Then the man said, Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Jacob said, Please tell me your name. But he replied, Why do you ask my name? Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, when he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. That always makes me go, wow. Because that's probably one of the few things I'm going to ask the Lord. Like, why did you wrestle with Jacob? Was this just, I don't know. It's just hard to explain. That is a really hard chapter to explain and to understand. And I feel like over time, I will come to understand it, or the Lord will just have to reveal it to me some other time. But it's like, why did you wrestle with Jacob? But he did wrestle and he did overcome. He's had hard labor. He's had so many things happen in his life. Um, for 20 years, just about 20 years plus. And there are people out there who have struggled all of their lives, who have fought all of their lives. So I guess that's a way to say, not just for Jacob, but all of us that have gone through that struggle, that life struggle of always having to stand up for themselves, always having to um, work hard, fight hard to survive. And it can be rough out here, especially when the economy dips, when it's hard to find a job, when it's hard to find a place to settle, when it's hard to raise your children. There's always different struggles that we go through, right? But even so, when we remain faithful to the Lord, he will vindicate us, he will redeem us. So, and I guess that kind of coincides with the not giving up, because giving up is not an option, which is true. We can only move forward. We cannot look back on our past and and get to a point where we're so caught up that we can't move forward. um because even if you decide today, okay, I'm going to be depressed for the next 30 days, the rest of the world is still moving. The rest of the world is still prospering. They're still doing their, whoever is being faithful to the Lord will still be prospering. They're still moving. They're still getting stuff done because they remain faithful. We have to remain faithful and pick ourselves up and say, you know what? The Lord is my strength. I'm not going to allow anything to hold me back or hold me down. I'm just going to keep it moving. That's the attitude we're supposed to have. So that's just a good point to make. Genesis 33, Jacob meets Esau. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men, so he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. When Esau looked up and saw the women and children, "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Next Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, "What is the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met?" "To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. But Esau said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." "No, please," said Jacob. "If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God. Now that you have received me favorably, please accept the present that was brought to you. For God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need." And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted. Then Esau said, "Let us be on our way. I'll accompany you." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are tender, and that I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and herds before me, and the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir." Esau said, "Then let me leave some of my men with you." "But why do that?" Jacob asked. "Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord." So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth. After Jacob came from Padan Aram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar and called it El Elohi Israel. All right, Genesis 34, Dinah and the Shechemites. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, had born to Jacob, went out to visit the women of the land. When Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, the ruler of that area, saw her, he took her and raped her. His heart was drawn to Dinah, daughter of Jacob. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. And Shechem said to his father Hamor, "Get me this girl as my wife." When Jacob heard that his daughter Dinah had been defiled, his sons were in the fields with his livestock, so he did nothing about it until they came home. Then Shechem's father, Hamor, went out to talk with Jacob. Meanwhile, Jacob's sons had come in from the fields as soon as they heard what had happened. They were shocked and furious because Shechem had done an outrageous thing in Israel about sleeping with Jacob's daughter, a thing that should not be done. But Hamor said to them, "My son Shechem has his heart set on your daughter. Please give her to him as his wife. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters, and take our daughters for yourselves. You can settle among us. The land is open to you. Live in it, trade in it, and acquire property in it." Then Shechem said to Dinah's father and brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and I will give you whatever you ask. Make the price for the bride and the gift I am to bring as great as you like. I'll pay whatever you ask me. Only give me the young woman as my wife." Because their sister Dinah had been defiled, Jacob's sons replied deceitfully as they spoke to Shechem and his father Hamor. They said to him, They said to them, "We can't do such a thing. We can't give our sister to a man who is not circumcised. That would be a disgrace to us. We will enter an agreement with you on only one condition only, that you will become like us by circumcising all your males. Then we will give you our daughters and take your daughters for ourselves. We'll settle among you and become one people with you. But if you will not agree to be circumcised, we will take our sister and go." Their proposal seemed good to Hamor and his son Shechem. The young man, who was the most honored of all his father's family, lost no time in doing what they said, because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of their city to speak with the men of their city. "These men were friendly towards us," they said. "Let them live in our land and trade in it. The land was plenty of room for them. We can marry their daughters, and they can marry ours. But the men will agree to live with us as one people only on the condition that our males be circumcised, as they themselves are. Won't their livestock, their property, and all their animals become ours? So let us agree to their terms, and they will settle among us." Hey, Times! Welcome in, welcome in. Awesome, awesome. You got that 7-day stream streak. Awesome. Wanted to pause here really quickly that I will say one thing for sure that I have learned um, from a podcast of a pastor who made a really good point about what the devil would do. If the devil cannot get you with evil by attacking you or attacking your inheritance or attack whatever, he will get you with something that would be considered nice, but not necessarily what is good to the Lord, right? So the sons were being nice to the Shechemites, right? But that doesn't mean their intentions behind them being nice was ever actually good. And we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, do not be easily fooled, deceived, or gullible because somebody was nice to you. Just because somebody was nice to you, that does not mean they have anything good for you. And this is why it's important to have a good relationship with the Lord. And the Shechemites clearly did not believe in the same God. They did not think, "Oh, let us not just discuss it amongst ourselves, but let us discuss it with the Lord," because the Lord is the one that's going to help you and show you things that you probably don't even see coming, right? Because they should have made it right. They should have um, actually um, punished the man that defiled Dinah, um, according to whatever the laws of the land is in that time. But instead, they just kind of discussed it amongst themselves, made an agreement over something that should have been taken more seriously, especially considering that is traumatizing, period. It's traumatizing to a woman. So, no, the woman's not going to want to actually marry. However, during that time, you know, if you become one with a woman, whether it's by defilement or through actual marriage, you still have to be married, because spiritually you have made a covenant with that person. You have created a soul tie, and to make sure that that woman is honored, you would then actually care for her after that. And 9 times out of 10, they don't care. Because if you actually cared for that woman, you wouldn't defile her. You would make sure it is consent. But anyway, going back to what we were reading. So, picking back up Genesis 34:24. All the men who went out of the city gate agreed with Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male in the city was circumcised. 3 days later, while all the men were still in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and attacked the unsuspecting city, killing every male. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword, and took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. The sons of Jacob came upon the dead bodies and looted the city where their sister had been defiled. They seized their flocks and herds and donkeys and everything else of theirs in the city out in the fields. They carried off all their wealth and their women and children, taking as plunder everything in the houses. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me obnoxious to the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the people living in this land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, I and my household will be destroyed." But they replied, "Should he have treated our sister like a prostitute?" Now, I'm going to say there is wrong and there is right on both sides of this story, where Jacob did not make it right for his daughter. Jacob did not speak up on his daughter's behalf. He did not make sure that the people were um, held accountable for their actions. Um, and then he was right by saying, this is going to cause trouble, because you killing these people is not going to put a bad name on them to the people that survived, or the people outside of their area probably heard through rumors or word of mouth that something happened um, between the two communities, and that's definitely not a good look, um, because they don't probably know the entire context of what happened. That could cause a lot of trouble and a lot of war. And on the other side, the brothers were wrong for what they did by making a false agreement, a false covenant with the Shechemites, and then taking on the plunder of all that they have lost. Understandably so, these people aren't going to be able to take their possessions with them where they're going. However, that does not make it right, because if you see there is wickedness, and God has shown us this time and time again, um, in Exodus, when we get there, when you take the plunder of something that is wicked, whether it be money, whether it be clothes, whether it be people that lived among it, if the Lord says, "Do not take plunder from it," do not gain from the wickedness, do not accept anything from the wickedness, He means it, because you're creating a transaction that is not of God. You're creating a blessing for yourself that was never given to you or ordained to you by God. It doesn't matter what it is. Right, exactly. All right, I'm going to take a really quick break and we'll be back.